Hey, it's Thursday, October 3rd. My head itched, I apologize. Regular class, not advanced, because advanced is doing a whole different thing. They're not ready for this story, because we're doing Man from the South. Let's see, 9-week assessment, we're going to talk about that. Story for tomorrow called Hey You Down There, which is on my website. We're going to talk about in a second, so make sure you read that one. It's going to be what the Socrative is about. And then return your book report books. There's a thing right over here for you to put them on. I get to start torturing you next week if you've not returned them. And I think that's it. And then with your 9-week assessments, one thing to tell you about this. I have to start closing it each night so I can start grading them. The only way this impacts you is if you start it at night and then just pause your iPad and then go to sleep to finish it in the morning. It's going to delete your work overnight. So just don't do that and you'll be fine. So whenever you start it, just make sure you finish it and you should be good to go. Because I have to close it for tomorrow so I can grade all the ones that have been turned in. And we're taking a Socrative tomorrow, so I kind of have to so we can open it for the Socrative for then. I will then reopen it after school, and you guys can do the 9-week assessments over the weekend, and you're good to go. You can do the 9-week assessments tonight, and you're good to go. And I'll start going through and getting all those graded, and then changing grades on Skyward, and helping you guys out from there. Did you have questions as far as this went? More just staring at me? Okay, just making sure. Once again, the story, Hey You Down There, is the one for tomorrow. As Jackson pointed out with his sleepy drunkenness, it is quite the strange story, but when you get through with it, it's worth it, but it is definitely one, if you try to tell someone else the plot of it, they might go, are you sleepy drunk? And you're like, no, that's really what happened. And so it's kind of one of those stories, which is why I chose it, because it's fun. Not as fun as today's story. Alright, so to touch on it again, because this goes into today's story, what is suspense? So many interesting definitions at once. We'll go with yes. Which part of the mountain do we find suspense? And on this one, today's story has a lot of rising action. Yesterday we got almost to the end of exposition, and then all of today is nothing but rising action. Because in today's story is exposition, rising, climax, and then just drops. Just the very end of it, because it's all builds up to this one big scene. Speaking of big things, we have azaleas. Flowers. They're not super important, but it is the first picture that was on there, and I enjoy them. And let's see, it's there. Then we got 2 naval cadets. Yeah. What's the naval cadet? Nicely done. This is important because we're going to find out one of the main characters is going to be one of the Navy cadet kids who shows up, and they're flirting because it's going to be a long day already. And then we did get old guy who wore the Panama hat and the buckskin shoes, and then he doesn't want swamp toe. Once again, pull foot out before you stab and put holes into it. Don't be my first period kid. And then make sure you do the swamp toe thing. And then we did not get to... Oh, we did. We found out where it's taking place. Jamaica. Otherwise known as Little Panama. Jamaica is the island where we just got to that part where he's like, oh, all the days are beautiful in Jamaica. And then what point of view is it being told in? First. How do you know? Nicely done. Anyone else have? Ooh. Where in Jamaica? It's taking place at a pool. Nice one. At a pool at a hotel. And then we're on second column, about halfway down. We've got just a smidge more of exposition, and then we're going to get straight into this next part where I can talk. All right. I think they're American sailors. That's where we're going to start, because he says they're super noisy, because apparently Americans make a lot of noise. Shocker. I think those are American sailors, I told him. They're Americans who are learning to be sailors. Of course they are Americans. Who else in the world is going to make as much noise as Dad? You are not American, no? No, I said, I am not. Suddenly, one of the American cadets was standing in front of us. He was dripping wet from the pool. One of the English girls was standing there with him. Hey, are these chairs taken? No, I answered. You mind if I sit down? Go ahead. Thanks. He had a towel in his hand, and when he sat down, he unrolled it and produced a pack of cigarettes and a lighter. He offered the cigarettes to the girl, and she refused. Then he offered them to me, and I took one. The little man said, "Thank you, no, but I think I have a cigar. He pulled out a crocodile case and got himself a cigar. Then he produced a knife, which had a small scissors in it, and he snipped the end off the cigar. Here, let me give you a light. The American boy held up his lighter. That will not work in this wind. Quick pause there. I know you guys are thinking whenever you smoke your cigars that you don't usually use your crocodile case. To explain what a crocodile case is, it does not look like a crocodile.
It's made of crocodile.
There you go, made out of crocodile skin. And it has like a hard plastic or metal, so you can put your cigar in there and it doesn't get broken, because we all know we hate broken cigars. I mean, you can't smoke, it's like a complete waste. And so that's this case that he brings out. Then, the other thing is the boy brings out a lighter, which is going to play a big role in the story. It's not the disposable lighters that you guys use for like 4th of July. We just like light a thing, like psh, you throw it away. This one is what's called a Zippo, and it's going to play a role in the story throughout.
Is it the one that
Yeah, my dad collects.
Zippos go way back to like World War II, a little before World War II, and they're not disposable at all. Like this one's super old, older than you guys are. And so the way it works is to use it, there is a thing in the bottom where you have to lift it, then you have to fill it with, apparently, I was told it's called lighter fluid, not lighter juice, which I kept calling. It was like, it's called fluid. I'm like, oh, it's not lighter juice. You fill it with your lighter juice, and you just pour it in there, and then it has a little wick in the bottom. And the way it works is you sort of like snap, and then it lights up like that. The idea being is it doesn't go out. And so that was the big thing, is that it's supposed to stay lit. Even in wind. That was a lot of wind.
touch me?
It's supposed to stay lit. The idea being is that guys who are like in the army, when they're out there fighting, you could then not have to worry about your lighter ever running out. Quick side note. When I was a kid, back during dinosaur times, they used to be able to advertise like cigarettes and stuff like that on television. And I remember being a kid, and they used to advertise one of the cigarettes, but the thing was they would advertise these lighters. And there was a commercial I used to watch as a kid. It was the first time I thought smoking was cool. Because there was a guy on a motorcycle, and the whole thing was about it was the guy lit his cigarette while riding a motorcycle because he used one of these Zippo lighters. And the guy's like, I was like, smoking's so cool, rah! Because I saw the guy on the motorcycle. And then apparently they're like, you know what? We should stop advertising to kids because apparently that's shady. So now you can't watch them, but back in the day, you could. So this lighter plays a role in the story in just a moment. All right. That will not work in this wind. Ah, sure it'll work. Man, it always works. The little man removed his unlighted cigar from his mouth, cocked his head on one side, and looked at the boy. Always? He said softly. Yeah, sure, it never fails. Well, not with me anyway. The little man's head was still cocked over on one side, and he was still watching the boy. Well, well, so you say this famous lighter, it never fails. Is that you say? Yeah, sure, that's right. He was about 19 or 20, with a long, freckled face and a rather sharp, bird-like nose. His chest was not very sunburned, and there were freckles there too, and a few wisps of pale reddish hair. He was holding the lighter in his right hand, ready to flip the wheel. It never fails, he said. Hiccup. Smiling now because he was purposely exaggerating his little boast. I promise you, it never fails. One moment, please. The hand that held the cigar came up high, palm outward as though it were stopping traffic. Now just one moment. He had a curiously soft, toneless voice, and he kept looking at the boy all the time. Shall we not perhaps make a little bet on that? He smiled at the boy. Shall we not make a little bet on whether your lighter lights? Yeah, sure, I'll bet. Yeah, why not? Oh, you like to bet? Sure, I'll always bet. The man paused and examined his cigar. I must say I didn't much like the way he was behaving. It seemed like he was already trying to make something out of this, and to embarrass the boy, and at the same time I had the feeling he was relishing a private little secret all his own. He looked up again at the boy and said slowly, I like to bet too. Why we don't have a good bet on this thing? A good big bet. Whoa, hey, now wait a minute. I can't do that, but like I'll bet you $1 or I don't know, whatever it is over here. Like some shillings, I guess. The little man waved his hand again. Listen to me. Now we have some fun. We make a bet. Then we go up to my room here in the hotel where it's no wind, and I bet you cannot light this famous lighter of yours 10 times running without missing once. Yeah, I'll bet I can. All right, good. We make a bet. Yes? Sure. I'll bet you $1. Real quick, when it says 10 times running, because I had kids confused earlier, he does not mean like running, like cross-country running. It means 10 times in a row. So it just means open, light, close. Open, light, close. If you do that 10 times and it never fails to light, he wins. But if one time you open it and it goes foink and nothing happens, he loses. Yeah. I mean, for the most part, when you do it, it makes like this part of it hot right there. But when you close it, it goes out, and you can touch it again. It's not awful. So, it gets hot, but not impossibly hot. Always bet. He looked up again at the boy and said slowly, I like to bet too. Why don't we... Is that where I was?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I like to bet too. Why don't we have a good bet on this thing? A good, big bet. The little man waved his hand again. Listen to me. And now we have some fun. Now I got it. You guys remember that? 10 times running. That I can. All right. No. All right, good. We make a bet. Yes? Yeah. Sure, I'll bet you $1. No, no, no. I make you very good bet. I am rich man. I am sporting man also. Listen to me. Outside the hotel is my car. It's very fine car. American car from your country. Cadillac. Hey, now wait a minute. The boy leaned back in his deck chair. He laughed. I can't put up that kind of property. This is crazy. Not crazy at all. You strike lighter successfully 10 times in a row. Cadillac is yours. You'd like to have this Cadillac, yes? Sure, I'd like to have a Cadillac. The boy was still grinning. All right, fine. We make a bet. I put up my Cadillac. Well, what do I put up? The little man carefully removed the red band from his still unlighted cigar. I never ask you, my friend, to bet something you cannot afford. You understand? Okay, then what do I bet? I make it very easy for you. Yes? Okay, you're going to make it easy. Some small thing you can afford to give away, and if you did happen to lose it, you'd not feel too bad, right? Yeah, such as what? Such as perhaps the little finger of your left hand. My... What? The boy stopped grinning. Yes, why not? You win, you take the car. You lose, I take the finger.
What?
Right? What?
Why are you making it sound like it's normal?
I told you it's a fun story.
You're making it sound like it's normal.
To this guy, it is. It's called Another Wednesday. I don't get it. How do you mean you take the finger? Oh, I chop it off. Jumping jeepers. No, that's a crazy bet. Yeah, I think I'm going to make it $1. The man leaned back and spread out his hands, palms upward, and gave a tiny, contemptuous shrug of the shoulders. Well, 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 I do not understand. You say it lights, but you will not bet. We forget it, yes? The boy sat quite still, staring at the bathers in the pool. Then he remembered suddenly he had never lighted his cigarette. He put it between his lips, cupped his hands around the lighter, and flipped the wheel. The wick lighted and burned with a small, steady yellow flame. The way he held his hands, the wind didn't get to it at all. Could I have a light too? I said. Oh, yeah, gee, I'm sorry. I forgot you didn't have one. I held out my hand for the lighter, but he stood up and came over to do it for me. Thank you, I said. He returned to his seat. You having a good time? Fine. It's pretty nice here. There was a silence then, and I could see that the little man had succeeded in disturbing the boy with his absurd proposal. He was sitting there very still. It was obvious that a small tension was beginning to build up inside of him. Then he started shifting about in his seat and rubbing his chest and stroking the back of his neck. And finally, he placed both hands on his knees and began tapping his fingers against his kneecaps. And soon he was tapping one of his feet as well. Okay. All right. Now, let me just check up on this bet of yours. You say we go up to your room, and if I make this lighter light 10 times in a row, I win a Cadillac. But if it misses just once, I forfeit the little finger of my left hand. Is that right? Certainly. That is the bet. But I think you are afraid. Whoa. Okay. What do we do if I lose? Do I have to hold out my finger while you chop it off? Oh, no. That'd be no good. And you might be tempted to refuse to hold it out. What I should do, I would tie one of your hands to the table before we started, and I'd stand there with a knife, ready to go chop the moment your lighter missed. See? Perfectly normal. What year is the Cadillac? The boy asked. Excuse? I do not understand. What year? How old is the Cadillac? Ah, how old? Yeah. It is last year. Quite new car. But I see you are not betting man. Americans never are. Two quick things to pause. One, I went and Googled what a Cadillac looked like during this time frame. So this is the kind of Cadillac he's referring to. Because this is like back during the 1940s, 50s kind of time. So that's what the Cadillac was. Two, with the old man right now, the conversation he's having, can you figure out what he's trying to get, what he's doing to the boy?
Yes.
Well, he says that he's gonna tie his
Yeah.
hand up
Yeah.
before he does it.
Uh-huh.
Am I supposed to say what I think is gonna happen?
Well, with the conversation he's having, he's trying to do something to the kid's mind. That's what I was trying to go towards.
Make him think that he's not
He's gonna try to kill him.
his finger off.
You know, you're on the right track.
He's gonna
Katie?
destroy his fighting field.
He's trying to manipulate.
There you go. He's trying to trick him into it. Because who's sitting right next to the boy who's not spoken yet? Yeah, the girl he's been flirting with this whole time. So the old man's like, oh, little wussy American boy. You're not going to bet? It's okay, wussy American boy. I understand because little wussy American boys don't do this. Little wussy American. And so he basically just keeps calling him a little wussy. And like looks at the girl's like, right? Wussy Americans, huh? And so he's basically trying to like guilt the kid into doing the reverse psychology. And of course the kid's a naval cadet, so they're all big and tough. So what do we know the boy's going to do? It wouldn't be a fun story with otherwise. Yeah?
I thought it would be like once he failed it, his fingers would be chopped and the lighter would be on still and the building would break down.
No? Let's find out. There's more coming.
He was gonna tie his hand up, like, even if he does.
Why does he want fingers?
Oh, we're going to get to that also. That's part of what's coming up. This is all that suspense stuff. We've not even got to the suspense part yet. This is just the getting interested part. Just wait.
The getting spicy.
It is spicy. The boy paused for just a moment, glanced first at the English girl, then over at me. Yeah, he said sharply. Yeah, I'll bet you. Good. The little man clapped his hands together quietly once. Fine. I'm doing my best to try and put some personality into all the different characters so you can tell them apart. Jackson.
Did he steal the leprechaun's pot of gold? Is that
No.
why he wants his fingers?
No. Good. Fine, he said. We do it now. And you, sir? He turned to me. You call it to referee. He had pale, almost colorless eyes with tiny, bright black pupils. Well, I think this is a crazy bet. I don't think I like it very much. Nor do I, said the English girl. It was the first time she'd spoken. I think it's a stupid, ridiculous bet. Are you serious about cutting off this boy's finger if he loses? Certainly I am. Also about giving him Cadillac if he wins. Come now, we go to my room. He stood up. Oh, would you like to put on some clothes first? Now, come up like this. Because what's the boy wearing? Still in his swim trunks. Then he turned to me. Hey, I'd consider it a favor if you'd come along and referee. All right, I'll come along, but man, I don't like this bet. Hey, you come too, he said to the girl. You come and watch. Because if you didn't know it, that's what chicks dig, watching dudes get fingers cut off. Yeah. They really like it. It's like the best way to ask them out, according to this kid. The little man led the way back to the garden to the hotel. He was animated now and excited, and that seemed to make him bounce up higher than ever on his toes as he walked along. I live in Annex. Would you like to see car first? It's just here. He took us to where we could see the front driveway of the hotel, and He stopped and pointed to a sleek, pale green Cadillac parked close by. There she is, the green one. You like? Say, now that's a nice car, the boy said. All right, now let's go up and see if you can win her. We followed him into the annex and up one flight of stairs. He unlocked his door, and we all trooped into what was a large, pleasant double bedroom. There was a woman's dressing gown lying across the bottom of one of the beds. First, he said, we have a little drink. The drinks were on a small table in the far corner, all ready poured. And there was ice and plenty of glasses. He began to make the drinks, but meanwhile he'd rung the bell. Now there was a knock on the door, and a maid came in. Ah, he said, taking a wallet from his pocket and pulling out a pound note. You will do something for me now, please? He gave the maid the pound. You keep that. And now we're going to play a little game in here. And I want you to go off and find for me three things. I want some nails, I want a hammer, and I want a chopping knife. A butcher's chopping knife, which you can borrow from the kitchen. You can get that, yes? A chopping knife? The maid opened her eyes wide and clasped her hands in front of her. You mean a real chopping knife? Yes, of course. Come on now, please. You can find those things surely for me. Well, yes, sir, I'll try, sir. Surely I'll try and get them. And out she went. So that you understand the chopping knife, what it is that they're talking about on there. I was just writing it for you. I'm not bringing in a chopping knife. But the one that you use for like cooking things, you can like chop it through, it goes like straight through a bone, just whoosh, separating, that's what she's going to go get for Eli.
Why'd you do that for just a pound?
Because it's like $1. It's like a tip. And
It's
so,
like 10 V-Bucks.
Antonio?
I think I maybe have an idea. It's because the animal.
Uh-huh.
Maybe he put the nail and, you know.
We're going to find out in a moment.
His finger into it, and
Ryan,
Oh,
let's find Jackson.
that's a flavor.
Correct. Same kind of idea. Butcher knife's the same thing. They're synonyms.
synonym.
They are whenever the guy in the mask is chasing me. I don't ask him for the difference. The little man handed around the drinks.
Quiet!
Down, my eager beavers. We can't find what's happening in the guy's hand. The little man handed round the drinks. We stood there and sipped them. The boy with the long, freckled face and the pointed nose, bare-bodied except for a pair of faded brown swim trunks. The English girl, a large-boned, fair-haired girl, wearing a pale blue swimsuit, who watched the boy over the top of her glass all the time. The little man with the colorless eyes, standing there in his immaculate white suit, drinking from his glass and looking at the girl in her pale blue swimsuit.
Ooh, he likes the girl.
Now, I didn't know what to make of it. Yes, he does. The man seemed serious about the bet, and he seemed serious about the business of cutting off the finger. But what if the boy lost? We'd have to rush him to the hospital in a Cadillac that he hadn't won. Now, that'd be a fine thing. It'd be a silly, unnecessary thing, so far as I could see. Don't you think this is rather a silly bet? I said. No, I think it's a fine bet, the boy answered. He'd already downed one large drink. Well, I think it's a stupid, ridiculous bet, the girl said. What's going to happen if you lose? It won't matter. Come to think of it, I can't remember ever in my life having had any use for the little finger of my left hand. Here he is. The boy took hold of the finger. Here he is, and he has never done a thing for me yet. Why shouldn't I bet him? No, I think it's a fine bet. The little man smiled and picked up the shaker and refilled our glasses. Before we begin, I will present to the referee the key of the car. He produced a car key from his pocket and gave it to me. The papers, the owning papers and insurance are in the pocket of the car. Then the maid came in again. In one hand, she carried a small chopper, the kind used by butchers for chopping meat bones, and in the other, a hammer and a bag of nails. Good! You get them all! Thank you. Now, you can go. He waited until the maid had closed the door. Then he put the implements on one of the beds and said, Now we prepare ourselves. Yes? And to the boy, Help me, please, with this table we carried out a little. It was the usual kind of hotel writing desk, just a plain rectangular table about 4 feet by 3, a blotting pad, ink, pens, and paper. They carried it out of the room away from the wall and removed the writing things. There's more. I haven't given it to you to prevent you guys from trying to read ahead and cheating. So now I will continue with the part that you can't see. No, and I'll go to the screen. This is the table, and I'll sort of show you guys how the table goes as we go through. We should have, it goes to like 150, right? Yes, we should have just enough time. We should be good to go. And that's fine. And now, he said, a chair. He picked up a chair and placed it beside the table. He was very brisk and very animated, like a person organizing games at a children's party. And now, the nails. I must put in the nails. He fetched the nails, and he began to hammer them into the top of the table. We stood there, the boy, the girl, and I, holding drinks in our hands, watching the little man at work. We watched him hammer 2 nails into the table, about 6 inches apart. He didn't hammer them all the way in. He allowed a small part of each one to stick up. Then he tested them for firmness with his fingers. So with the nails, he nails in both of them into the top of the table, but leaves up like a chunk of the nail about that far on each one. Which he'll explain why in just a moment. Anyone would think this guy has done this before, I told myself. He never hesitates. Table, nails, hammer, kitchen chopper. He knows exactly what he needs and how to arrange it. And now, all we want is some string. He found some string. All right, at last we are ready. Will you please to sit at the table? He said to the boy. The boy put his glass away and then sat down. Now place the left hand between these 2 nails. The nails are only so I can tie your hand in place. All right, good. Now I'm going to tie your hand secure to the table like so. He wound string around the boy's wrist, then several times around the wide part of the hand. Then he fastened it tight to the nails. He made a good job of it, and when he finished, there wasn't any question about the boy being able to draw his hand away, but he could move his fingers. So string around wrist, and then string around the fat part of your hand, and then string around both nails. So the kid's wrist is there. He can move his hand, but the wrist isn't going to go anywhere. So it's basically tied down from there. Now please, clench the fist, all except for the little finger. You must leave the little finger sticking out on the table. Like this. And he's sitting there tied down, finger sticking out. Excellent, excellent. Now we are ready. With your right hand, you manipulate the lighter. But one moment, please. He skipped over to the bed, picked up the chopper, and came back and stood beside the table.
Skip to the bed?
With the chopper in his hand. He's excited. Okay. We are all ready. Mr. Referee, you must say when to begin. The English girl was standing there in her pale blue swimsuit right behind the boy's chair. She was just standing there, not saying anything. The boy was sitting quite still. Sitting. I'm going to act out the boy's part. The boy was sitting there quite still, not saying anything, holding the lighter in his right hand, looking at the chopper. The little man was looking at me. Are you ready? I asked the boy. Yeah, I'm ready. And you? I said to the little man. Oh, yeah, I'm quite ready, he said. And he lifted the chopper up in the air and held it there about 2 feet above the boy's finger, ready to chop. The boy watched it, but he didn't flinch, and his mouth didn't move at all. He merely raised his eyebrows and frowned. All right, I said. Go ahead. The boy said, would you please count out loud the number of times I light it? Yeah, I said, I'll do that. With his thumb, he raised the top of the lighter, and again, with the thumb, he gave the wheel a sharp flick. The flint sparked, and the wick caught fire and burned with a small yellow flame. 1! I called. He didn't blow the flame out. He closed the top of the lighter on it and waited for perhaps 5 seconds before opening it again. He flicked the wheel very strongly, and once more there was a small flame burning on the wick. 2! No one else said anything. The boy kept his eyes on the lighter. The little man held the chopper in the air, and he too was watching the lighter. 3! Remember we talked about suspense earlier in the whole...
No.
4, 5, 6, 7. Obviously, it was one of those lighters that worked. The flame gave a big spark, and the wick was the right length. I watched the thumb snapping the top down onto the flame, then a pause, then the thumb raising the top once more. This was an all-thumb operation. The thumb did everything. I took a breath, ready to say 8. The thumb flicked the wheel. The flint sparked. The little flame appeared. 8! I said. And as I said it, the door opened. We all turned and saw a woman standing in the doorway. A small, black-haired woman, rather old, who stood there for about 2 seconds, then rushed forward shouting, "Carlos! Carlos!" She grabbed the little man's wrist, ripped the chopper from him, threw it on the bed, took hold of the little man by the lapels of his white suit, the thing is right here, and began shaking him very vigorously, talking to him fast and loud and fiercely, all the time in some Spanish-sounding language. She shook him so fast you couldn't see him anymore. He became a faint, misty, quickly moving outline, like the spokes of a turning wheel. Then she slowed down, and the little man came into view again, and she hauled him across the room and pushed him backward onto one of the beds. He sat on the edge of it, blinking his eyes and testing his head as he would still turn on his neck. "I am so sorry," the woman said. "I am so terribly sorry that this should happen." She spoke almost perfect English. "It is too bad," she went on. "I suppose it is really my fault. For 10 minutes, I leave him alone to go and have my hair washed, and I come back, and he is at this again." She looked sorry. Just wait. She looked sorry and deeply concerned. The boy was untying his hand from the table. The English girl and I stood there and said nothing. "He is a menace," the woman said. "Down where we live, at home, he has taken altogether 47 fingers from different people, and he has lost 11 cars. In the end, they threatened to have him locked away somewhere. That's why I brought him up here." "We were only having a little bet," mumbled the little man from the bed. "I suppose he bet you a car," the woman said. "Yeah," the boy answered, "a Cadillac." "He has no car. It is mine. And that makes it worse, that he should bet you when he has nothing to bet with. I am ashamed and very sorry about it all." She seemed an awfully nice woman. "Oh, well, then here's the key of your car." And I put it on the table. We were only having a little bet," mumbled the man. "He hasn't anything left to bet with," the woman said. "He hasn't a thing in the world, not a thing. As a matter of fact, I myself won it from him a long time ago. It took time, a lot of time, and it was hard work, but I won everything of his in the end." She looked up at the boy, and she smiled, a slow, sad smile. And she came over and put out a hand to take the key from the table. And I can see it now. That hand of hers had only one finger on it, and a thumb.
I called it.
And that's where the story ends. Now, to properly understand what happens at the end of the story, the person that comes in and interrupts, we don't know exactly who it is, but we can guess. What would be the guess? Now, the guess would be mother. Can't be that because he's already old. His mom's probably dead. If you guess wife, here's the problem. If you're married to a man doing this, what do?
Divorce.
Divorce him. So that also takes out wife. So what's that going to leave?
Sister.
My guess is that it's probably a sister. Now, here's the old man's problem. He's rich. When he's rich, he got addicted to gambling. But when you're rich, money is not fun to gamble with because it doesn't mean anything to you because you have so much of it. So when you become addicted to gambling, you want to gamble for something that is meaningful. So he found a thing that is meaningful to everybody. And what is meaningful to everybody?
Fingers.
So that's why he starts gambling for fingers. It's not wanting the fingers. It's the thrill of knowing you're taking something from somebody that they want to keep. Now the problem is, they were going to lock him into a crazy place. The only way to stop him was to take everything he had. What was the only way his sister could stop him?
Gamble her fingers.
She had to gamble with him. Now, when she reaches out, how many fingers does she have left?
2.
Just the finger and the thumb. The reason she has finger and thumb left, because what do you need to be able to do it?
9.
One finger and one thumb to be able to manipulate all of it. So that's why she's left with that one finger and thumb, because she spent all of the other ones gambling against him. He was so addicted, he went against his own sister and took her fingers. Plus, another clue, what is it she says she was doing when she was gone? Getting her hair washed. At first, you don't think about it. You're like, oh, women go get their hair washed all the time. But she has to go get her hair washed. Why?
She only has 7 fingers.
I don't think she has 7, dear.
4.
Oh, that's all that's left?
It is just the...
Oh.
So she can't... So the idea being that she's just down to that, which is why she had to go get her hair washed. And we find out it comes down to him being addicted and having all kinds of issues. You're giving me a look, Nicole.
I'm concerned.
About what?
What this crazy man does with all the every 7 fingers that he has.
My guess is probably gets rid of them. You dig a little...
How do you get by like this?
Well, it's either that...